If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface as Activision Blizzard are going to start probably one of the toughest weeks that they've had in, I would say, probably multiple decades. Activision itself, a company that's been around since, 1979? Something ridiculous like that. And then they merged in 2008 with Vivendi, Vivendi owning Blizzard, and the formation of Activision Blizzard happened. And as you can see what's going on behind me, the stock market has opened up with them hitting another new 52-week low in terms of stock price. Stock that was only, less than 6 months ago, around the $86 mark, now resting at just around about 50% of that target. So how has it fallen so fast? Well, it's actually been a gradual process. The tapering off seemed to occur roughly around the second quarter of last year, where for the second quarter in a row, Activision Blizzard announced that engagement in the company was down. Stockholders didn't respond to that particularly well. They want growth. They want constant growth, and they want continued growth. They don't like to hear about stagnation, and they don't like to hear about engagement dropping off. They like to hear about hefty profits. They like to hear about more people coming into their games, and that is what turns a shareholder on. But when you look at a company like Activision Blizzard, it's easy to see why engagement is down. Third quarter brought more bad news as engagement fell further, and tomorrow is the Q4 earnings report for 2018, and let's just say people aren't particularly optimistic. Now, another reason why the stock market has responded in this way is the rumor that this week, and potentially starting today, there are going to be hundreds of job losses at Activision Blizzard, affecting not just the Activision side, but also the Blizzard Entertainment side. And the sad fact of the matter is, these redundancies, these firings, if you will, are likely to be ground-level, hard-working people. People in back office, developers, people who've got a lot of talent and a lot to offer the gaming industry if given the opportunity. And although Activision and Blizzard are big names that I'm sure attract the kind of person that's desperate to get into the gaming industry, I don't know if creatively they're really allowed to flourish, especially when you look at the IP and the games that they currently have on their roster. But before I go into that, we also have to take a look at their current business strategy. They recently lost both of their CFOs, Chief Financial Officers, not just for Activision, but also for the Blizzard side as well. And Activision rehired the previous CFO that they had, offering a bonus, signing on bonus of up to $15 million. A signing on fee of roughly $3.5 million fat cash, and then the rest in stock options should he hit required targets. And if they were, of course, he'd be walking away with a $15 million cash in hand. Thank you very much indeed. You just imagine how many employees could be kept at a company for $15 million. You think about how many people could be kept on that can develop, can work hard, can be innovative in the creation of video games, new IPs, games which could go out to the market and attract the people to them to pay money to make the company very profitable indeed. But then you have to look, as I've said, at what they have to offer and how they've been using these IPs. And they have a reputation for running them into the ground. You had Guitar Hero that they just hammered out and hammered out and hammered out until people were so sick and tired of how many versions there were, what you had to get here, they just gave up on it. And in Tony Hawk Pro Skater, a franchise which came out really strongly by the 5th, and that was the re-emerging one in the series, just turned out to be a laughable meme. And then, of course, there's IPs which they just sit on and do absolutely nothing with. Beloved IPs as well. Spyro, Crash Bandicoot. People love those games. But what have they done with them over the last 15 or so years? Crash Team Racing. Spyro Remastered. And bar the odds, mobile title here or there, or handheld title here or there, nothing really been done with these whatsoever, just left to rot when there is an audience, as we saw from how well the Spyro Remastered actually sold. Then the utter fiasco with the Destiny franchise. A partnership together with Bungie to build this amazing space adventure, which never quite lived up to the hype, of course. People were very disappointed by what they actually got in the first Destiny game versus how it was sold to them by Bungie and Activision. And then when that audience drifted away towards other games and they had secured a core audience for that title, they then brought in the monetization. And when Destiny 2 was announced, people returned to see whether or not this was now the evolution of the franchise that people desperately wanted and hoped the first game would be, and they were greeted with more Destiny. And that was it. And what was even worse was the monetization and microtransaction system was now absolutely in your face, with everything pushing you towards the Eververse store because Bungie couldn't hit the number target that Activision had set for them. So Activision said, we don't care how you get the money, just get the money. And so people were so put off by the monetization, by the in-your-face microtransaction model, and following expansions which push people towards that, and events which are meant to be fun for people in the game, just pushing towards that, it destroyed the Destiny 2 community. And so by time Bungie actually produced something of worth in Forsaken, it was too late. There simply wasn't the audience there for it anymore. Because not only had they been burnt by the first Destiny game, but the second Destiny game had simply finished them off. And they weren't willing to give them the benefit of the doubt any longer. And so what do Activision do? Even though Destiny 2 still is profitable, they give up. They give up and they hand it back to Bungie. They dissolve the partnership that they've had. And so with the Q4 earnings report tomorrow, they're going to announce some sales figures, of course, and monetization for Destiny 2. But how are they going to pitch the fact to the shareholder that it's gone? What was the logical thinking about that? How is that going to improve Activision as a company? Absolutely bizarre stuff. And then, of course, Call of Duty, a very, very solid game, but there's still no denying that Call of Duty of today can't live up to what Call of Duty used to be. And I would argue that it's the same game all the time. And so you're inevitably just going to erode your customer base when you don't do anything particularly innovative. And of course, the latest version, which did sell well, don't get me wrong, second best-selling game of 2018, their innovation was to try and tag on a Battle Royale mode in an effort to get some of that popular coin. But Fortnite just laughed at them. They couldn't compete with Fortnite at all. They were nowhere to be seen. They just fell by the wayside like every other Battle Royale competitor had done to that series. And what is even worse for them now is, of course, Apex Legends has jumped onto the scene and destroyed Fortnite. Fortnite seems to be in trouble as a load of people from Fortnite are jumping over to Apex Legends. And so these two are now locked in a battle which currently Apex Legends is winning. Blops 4 ain't going to get any looking whatsoever. Which leads us to Blizzard Entertainment, where some more of these job losses look like they're going to occur. And once again, you just have to look at the IP. You've got Diablo, which is shifting to mobile, which is not what a PC audience wants. You have World of Warcraft, which is just copy and paste now. There's nothing that ever changes in that game. It gets dubbed down by each expansion, and it's just driving players off in their literal millions. Then there's Heroes of the Storm, which has had its esport abandoned, which again just seems to make no sense when you think about how much money they invested in purchasing MLG. Some ridiculous millions went into that purchase, and they abandoned their esport there. Hearthstone is, again, a game which has remained stagnant and seemingly has outpriced its audience now. People just aren't willing to give it a go because of the perception of how much it would cost to try and catch up. And therefore, you've got Overwatch, and Overwatch thinks innovation and development is adding a new hero every few months and maybe adding a new map once a year or so. There's nothing in any of these IPs which scream to people, players, invest in us, get invested in our worlds, our universes, because they are so stagnant and dull. People are right to go elsewhere. People are right to play different things and move away from Activision games. And the sad fact is, it's the hard-working person that is going to feel the brunt of this. It's the people who are working at the company at ground level that are going to get sacrificed in order to try and raise the profits back up for the shareholder. It's a very, very sad situation. It's a really, really sad situation when you see how just sitting back and letting the wheel turn without innovating leads you. It can only get you so far before everything ultimately starts crumbling down. Where is the new IP? Where are the industry-breaking games which are going to come out there and take everyone by the scruff of the neck? They're not interested in that. Why? Because they've been too busy milking their games for their shareholders that they've completely and utterly lost track of the true people that matter here, which is the gamer. Because without them at your core, you have nothing. So D-Day is coming for Activision Blizzard, and tomorrow is going to be an exceedingly interesting day indeed. So I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming links. They're in the description box down below, and I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care. Bye for now.